The following is a recording of a live Learn A Latte event that took place on Zoom on Wednesday, September 13th, 2023 on Postsecondary Counseling Resources. All right, everybody. Good morning and welcome to our first Learn A Latte presentation or event this year. My name is Christopher Chaklis. I'm the post-secondary counselor, and our Learn A Latte series is a student services series where we meet with parents and guardians and talk about different events different events and resources and just things to know, information for your students' Life at Hersey or Life After Hersey, hence the spelling of latte. So again, thank you for joining us bright and early today. And today's topic is post-secondary counseling resources. So being as that I am Christopher Chaklis, the post-secondary counselor, I'm going to kick off this first Learn A Latte with just making sure everyone is aware of all the different resources that we have for students and parents, and so that you know kind of where to find things and so on and so forth. I did capture, as I mentioned in the confirmation email, a lot of the great questions that you posted when you RSVP'd, and so hopefully I will cover many of them, or if not all of them, throughout the next 25-ish, 30 minutes. If not, I apologize, or if I couldn't tell if it was a resource question or not, definitely feel free to reach out to me afterwards via email. And if you want to set up an individual appointment or something like that, we can, definitely do that. Right now, we are full speed ahead with seniors and their college applications. So if you're a senior parent or guardian, definitely the sooner the better if you would like to get together with your student and discuss what they're doing. If not, and I'll show you some of the upcoming events for underclassmen, you may want to wait a little bit and kind of see some of the other information that's out there. So if you have questions throughout the time, or if you want to maybe wait a little bit towards the end in case I do cover it, feel free to put those into the chat and I will do my best to monitor that and kind of get to your questions. So this is a quick overview of the things that I'm going to talk about today. The majority of them are online resources, but I do want to start with the first one, which is our College and Career Center library. And to go along with the Life After Hersey theme, it doesn't roll off the tongue as easy as latte. I feel like I either have a Boston accent mixed with a Southern cowboy, but our library is this picture there to your right. And what it is a mixture of books and handouts and things and resources that you or your student preferably will come in and check out and feel free to check it out and bring it home and read it and so on and so forth. So this is, and if when I switch tabs, if you don't see the new tab right now, I'm looking at a spreadsheet of our library. If you don't see that, somebody put that in the chat, please. Miss Ann, our college and career assistant, has cataloged all of our offerings and so on and so forth so that you can see the name of the book, a description, kind of what theme it falls under. Is it about different? We have books on college lists, values, special populations, other various resources for choosing your major, the college admission process. So these are really interesting if you really want to dive into how colleges, especially four-year colleges, admit students. These are some really inside information, so you can see, how it all works and advice and things like that. So we have a lot here. If you ever want to take a look, we can, share that link out to you as well, and so on and so forth. So I'll try to remember to put that in, or I can share this tab with you all later. The majority, though, of our resources are online, and we've worked pretty hard over the last 3-4 years to really beef up our online resources. And I think that you will see, hopefully, at the end of this discussion here, that we have a lot of stuff out there for you and your students. And while it can be a little overwhelming, possibly at times, that's why I want to go through them with you. I think hopefully you'll find that there's a lot of good stuff out there. So there's a lot of different ways you can access it, but if you don't remember or you want to go, you just start with the Hersey homepage and go to students. Under students, there's a few of the things I'm going to talk about, including going directly to our College and Career Resource Center, but I'm going to start us off at the Student Services website so that you can see all of the general student services resources that we have. You can see over here, you can also access the College and Career Resource Center from here. One resource or area, I got a lot of questions about testing, ACT and SAT and how that work. I want to bring to your attention our assessment center. And then let me put in the chat, actually, the Student Services website, just as you have a landing page to go to. The assessment center and Miss Wilhelm, who is our assessment supervisor, she's the go-to person when you're getting information about any of the test preps that our school or district offers, about the school day testing, PSAT, AP testing, SAT testing, things like that. She is the go-to person for the logistics of registering for those things and so on and so forth. So whenever there's something like that, like a prep course or something else coming out, it's going to come from the assessment center. And so you'll definitely want to check with her for those different things. If your student qualifies for fee waivers to take an SAT or an ACT outside of school or inside of school, that she would be the person to go to as well. If you want to talk about, and so just to be really clear, the one test that is required to graduate high school, public high school in Illinois, is the school day SAT in April of your student's junior year. You have to take that, the student has to take that test that day at school in April of their junior year. It's a state law. And so that's really the only test that they have to take for the most part to graduate. Any other SATs or ACTs would be up to the student and would be signed up for on their own at a national testing date. And they can probably help you with that, Ms. Wilhelm or I. If you want to talk about how the tests factor in, how those scores factor into the college application process or admissions, then that would be a question that I could probably talk to you about. And there'll be some other stuff here I'll show you that kind of touches on a few of those things. So I just wanted to bring to your attention the assessment center first. The main site, though, if you're looking for one landing page for post-secondary, is our College and Career website. And so you'll see that it shoots out to a Google site. And that is really so that I have control to update things and edit things and do it as quickly as possible. So I hope this does work for everyone. There should be a way to translate it if you need to and so on. But you can always find our contact information here for myself and for Miss Ann. And then as you scroll down, I'm going to come back to our two big other guides in a minute, but I just want to highlight a few other things. First is our upcoming events. And so you can see our current event is being highlighted right here. Another cool event that's happening next week that's probably really for seniors, but anybody, I guess, can go as long as there's space, is this presentation that is being done at the Arlington Heights Public Library. And I don't believe you need a library card to attend. So even if you don't live in Arlington Heights, you can probably go. So when we speak of resources, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight all of ours is to make sure that you're all aware of all that the school provides to you for free. And the library, of course, is also free. And the people presenting, I will be one of the presenters next Tuesday, along with Ms. Bleeker from St. Viator, our University of Pittsburgh rep, and our ISAC rep, Joe Donner, who comes to here as well. We are all nonprofit, of course, community members who are here to support your students. So while the library sometimes has other presentations that are free, but maybe are really run by a for-profit company that, will talk about how you need to do the FAFSA and how it's really important for school. It might be by a company that, while that presentation is free, will get you thinking, oh, I need to reach out to them for help on doing it. And then that's when they will charge you several $100s, whereas myself or ISAC, which is a government agency, will meet you for free and help you out. So one of the reasons we're doing that, and I know maybe I'm going a little off tangent, is I want to make sure you're aware of free resources available from people who live and work in your community before you feel the need to pay somebody. And if you feel the need to do so afterwards, that's totally up to you, but really want to make sure that you're aware of all these different things. So part of that presentation at the library is, number one, to, of course, share information, and number two, just to make our presence felt in the community. But going back to our calendar of events, I have it broken down. And again, if these things aren't switching on your screen, please let me know. Broken down by class. So you can see what events are coming up, or maybe which ones you just missed. And if there is a flyer or something linked, or a website, I will link it as well. And so you can kind of, again, see anything that says D214 in front is a district sponsored event that is open to the whole district. Sometimes it will be at a specific school. Sometimes it might be at Forest View, like our fair, though that's still under construction. So we can have limited things there. Otherwise, it is, listed and so on and so forth. And of course, more information will come out about these as we get closer. So you can constantly keep checking back or put some of these dates in your calendar from now. And then before we dive into the guides, I want to highlight the two areas on the bottom of our college and career website are quick links. And some of these things we will talk about specifically, as well as resources for special populations. So under our quick links is where you can find things that are typically embedded somewhere else, but our college rep visit schedule for right now in the fall is really for seniors especially, and possibly juniors. Financial aid and scholarships, again, are great resources and are linked in our college application guide, which I'll talk about. Resumes and interview resources, our newsletter that you should see, that you should see in emailed out to you with the rest of the school. I believe it looks like our school is going to consolidate maybe to a monthly one. So hopefully we'll have a post-secondary page in there. Naviance and then school links I will talk about in a minute as well. I know Harper Promise has been a popular question lately. Make sure if your student is eligible for Harper Promise, they recommit by Friday, the 15th. And there's information on the website there. This is managed by the district, as well as how to now enter service hours in Infinite Campus. And then there's the assessment center link that we just looked at. We also have, I'll click on real quickly, a volunteer and job board that we try to update pretty regularly. So if your student is looking for a job or some kind of volunteer opportunities, we try to update this as much as possible. We don't vet these, to be honest. So just send your student to an interview or whatnot. It's your own discretion. Internships is another big one. So Mrs. Fraza, our student success coach, helps coordinate internships. And so there's information on our district website. And a couple other resources besides our physical library. You can see some other online resources here. And this is a course for parents. We call it a course. It's not anything you pay for or like attend, but it's online information if you want to kind of just go through it on your own. I'm not sure the last time it was truly updated like in depth, but you can see the different units here and you can kind of walk yourself through these things. This was managed by one of my counterparts at another school. So again, not sure how updated everything is. Like for instance, there are no more SAT subject tests, but if you want to get a general overview of things, this is something and we can look to update that as well. I'm always highlighting our social media sites, which was one of the topics on my slide, for really quick and frequent reminders. So I know your inbox gets jammed with tons of stuff. So for instance, if you switch over to Twitter really quick, you can see that we will share pictures of what's going on at school, reminders about upcoming events, all kinds of things that, again, maybe we can't share. Here's a volunteer opportunity. Talking about which colleges don't require a test score. There's over 1,900 that don't right now, four-year school. So this is a great, again, great way to get quick updated information about things that are coming up. So if you're not following on our social media sites, please consider doing so. And then special populations as well. We do have resources for students who might be interested in a gap year. I've linked to a CPS site because it's pretty thorough instead of reinventing the wheel. A lot of these things I have borrowed or stole from other places, and some of them I have created myself. If your student is looking to attend college internationally, not study abroad, but actually go to a college full-time in another country, there's some resources there. Some LGBTQ resources for student athletes. If your student has an IEP or 504, some summer program lists that are maintained by outside companies, and if your student is undocumented, there are resources there. So again, a lot of stuff on our main page. I want to, though, focus really a lot of the attention on our post-secondary planning guide. Our post-secondary planning guide, again, and when we say the word post-secondary, sometimes we intermix that with college and career center or college and career, but really the true name is post-secondary, and honestly, we might be renaming our college and career center to something post-secondary so that it all flows together. But bottom line is our goal is to help your student with whatever their path is after high school. So we do talk a lot about college here, but we are building more and more resources and having more and more events for students who are maybe not four-year college bound, or they're not quite sure yet. So you can see here on our different menus that we do have a lot of college stuff, but we also have military, apprenticeship, going into the workforce, paying for college, and career exploration. So I'm going to start with college. And we have obviously information about Harper and two-year schools, what are certificates, a little bit about transferring. They do have an apprenticeship program within. That was one of the things on Twitter that we just that I tweeted yesterday, is that they have some info sessions coming up. Keeping in mind, if Harper does not have a program that your student wants to do, but College of Lake County does, or College of DuPage, there is a joint agreement that you can still pay Harper tuition, even if it's outside. And there are some options if your student wants to live away from home, but not go to a four-year school, and so on. So I know I'm going through this really quick. I just want you to kind of see what we have. Our four-year menu has a lot of information that I hope you will really look through as well. Some information about majors and some websites where you can kind of explore different majors. Some more information again about testing and what test optional. So I just showed you on Twitter the site to FAIR test, which is what this would be. I guess I can update this to 1,800 schools or 1,900 schools. You can look and see what schools offer test optional admissions, and then our school assessment center, and then the district also has an assessment center. The district will sponsor things like the ASVAB test, which is a career test, but it's also mostly used for the military enlistment, and kind of see where a student might fall in the military, but anybody can take it and it's free. I know I had some questions about finding the right fit and how do we know what to kind of keep in mind and where to start. So I would scroll down to this section and start with the creating your college list. Now we start with students in October, basically, of their junior year, really diving into this. This is the class of 2024 recording of the Finding the Right Fit presentation, where if you saw on our calendar of events, it will be November 2nd this year for juniors and their parents and guardians. And it'll be probably pretty similar to this, but it's always good to come and hear it live in person. But this is kind of the breakdown of what we're how we're looking for students to approach the college search process. And we talk about the 5 Ps a lot. We have some images and where students who are seniors would have used those to enter into Supermatch. And now I kind of mentioned something called School Links before, which we're switching over to, and I'll show you those in a second. All students do have a Naviance account, and they probably have been in it unless they're a freshman. Naviance doesn't look like that for them. It looks more like this as a demo student, where they can go do a college search and they can put in criteria really quickly of what they're looking for: size, majors, surroundings. So they have to think these things through. So if they want something within 250 miles of a city, large, small city, whatever, and it will spit out a list of schools that might be good fits for them. They can favorite them, save them. School Links, which is where our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors will now start to go, has a very similar options where they will pick the location. Sorry, this is like probably like the 5th time I've been in here, but they will kind of do these different things, and they will be able to sort and get different colleges. So this is defaulted to Illinois. Now I can zoom out and I can see different schools and research them and so on and so forth. So we're going to walk your students through these, but just so you know that these are really quickly how students should start. They should start by figuring out what they want, and they can try to figure that out by looking at some of these resources, watching some of these presentations, and then plugging those into something like Naviance or School Links, or College Board Search also has the same thing, and generating their list that way versus Googling what is the best school for engineering or what is the top ranked school for accounting. Because while we want our students to go to schools with good reputations, it may not be the best fit overall. Those top 10 schools aren't going to be a good fit for everyone. And that's some of the books that I hope you will read from our library on that talk about where you go is not necessarily who you'll be. Success isn't defined by the name on the diploma. It's defined by what your student does there and how they thrive there. And so they want to find an environment that they thrive. So how do your students know what size and location and all that, especially if they're younger? Hopefully you can go on some college visits. This is a nice, I think, resource that I put together. It's really based on size and setting. But if you didn't realize that there's 140 colleges and universities within 200 miles of here that you can easily go to on a day trip. And so I've broken it down by size and setting. And so you can see, you could plan out a trip locally and check out some different types of schools, or I've even consolidated a few here that are just down the street from each other. You can hit up 2 different types of schools or two or 3 different schools in one trip to give your student an idea of what setting they may like. They may go to some schools, some urban schools downtown, and think, oh man, that is too crazy, or I love the excitement of the city. Or they may go somewhere that's really small and feel like that's too small or too big or whatever. So checking out the different types of schools is definitely recommended, and it's not too early to do that, especially if you're a freshman or sophomore. While you go to these visits, there are some checklists that you can bring with you to do some pros and cons. We have college fairs all throughout the year where there's anywhere from 200 to 400 different colleges in one room, and you can go around and ask questions. Our fair that we host here at Forest View will be on Tuesday, April 9th. It's really geared towards juniors, again, who have gone through that process of figuring out what they want and have churned out a list of schools that they think would be good fits. And then hopefully those schools are at our fair and they'll go talk to those reps and get more information versus just walking into a room with 200 tables and kind of aimlessly walking around. Hopefully you do some kind of research in advance, but we have tools on here for you to do that. And then reps, as I mentioned, do visit here in the fall and in the spring. You can see our fall list, again, mostly in the fall for seniors to get the inside scoop on the application itself. But juniors, can kind of get a taste of what's coming up. I wouldn't say freshmen or sophomores, probably not the best time to come. But in the spring, we have reps come back and they do more general talk about schools, and that's probably a good time for them to come to that. Some of you asked about a timeline or preparation. So at the bottom of the 4-year section here in the post-secondary planning guide, there is a nice checklist, I think, broken down by students and parents, what you can be doing during this time. And some of it is just talking to your counselor. So all the freshmen are being called down to talk to their counselor over the next few weeks. They'll meet with them again before they pick their courses. Just kind of getting involved, things like that. Not picking a college yet or doing any of that stuff, not taking the SAT or ACT, but maybe just prepping for it within your courses and doing strong work there. And then junior year, obviously, getting more involved with different things as well. Speaking of SAT and ACT and the library, to go back, the library is also offering free practice ACT and SAT tests. So instead of taking a real test and paying for it, just to kind of see where your student's at, the library will often host free practice tests where they get their score right away. So that I would recommend that versus paying to go to a real test and get a score. So again, timeline here for college that you can kind of take a look at as well. If your student doesn't know what they want to do yet, or especially if they're on the younger end, we have a lot of resources for career exploration. Again, when you go back into a school links, you can, there is a career section where they can look up different careers. There's different activities and assessments that they can do. That some of these will be done with their counselor in class. And we're still working on the sequence of how that will be. So your student can, at some point, will probably be taking one or more of these assessments to kind of get an idea of what their skills are, their interests are, their personality is. So they can stay tuned for that. But there are some other external websites that they can use as well to generate some possible careers that might work for them. I do a series on YouTube called Career Chats with Mr. Chocolates, where I interview different professionals. They can watch those. I shared out with all grade levels some healthcare, upcoming healthcare external presentations. How to get into medical school is tonight as well. So lots of opportunities both at school, online, and in the area to explore careers. As well as I mentioned, internships that you have to be 16 years old, have hopefully taken one or more courses in that pathway, but then you would apply with Mrs. Ferraza, our student success coach, and she can help set students up on 214 internships that are for credit and for a grade, and a great thing to put on your resume and just see if that's the field for you as a student, or maybe I don't want to go that route now, and I ruled it out before I started paying thousands of dollars in tuition. Really quickly, just to highlight military options. We do have military recruiters come once a semester, as well. And there's a lot of different routes. Of course, there's the straight enlisting, but there's also part-time, reserve. There's ROTC scholarships, which can pay tuition for up to 2 years with no commitment. After 2 years, the student can bow out and not have to repay anything, not have to serve any time. While they're in it, they'll have to take a couple classes and do some things, but it's a way to possibly pay for a couple of years of school, especially if there's a chance that they might want to go forward in the military. Service academies are like regular four-year schools, but just with a more intense application process. So there's some information on that. And then if you do want to contact some of our local recruiters or ROTC people, their information is here. We are definitely building up our trades resources and apprenticeship resources as well, talking about certificate programs, looking at a lot of different ways that students can get hands-on experience. I will say that not all apprenticeships, both at Harper and in some of our other area organizations, are what you might think of that typical blue collar, like machines and plumbing. There are apprenticeships in finance and insurance and in IT. And what that looks like basically is students have a job that they get paid for some of the days, and then they go to school for free at Harper, let's say, the other days. So a really interesting way to finance your education, get some hands-on work, and be really set in a pipeline to get a job when they're done. We've developed this kind of somewhat list of area apprenticeship and trade unions and things like that on here as well. And we've built up some other resources that we're hoping to put on here if it's not already. So definitely keep checking back here as well. And then lastly, if students are thinking that they are going to go straight to the workforce, we have some work information, job searches, and so on and so forth. I know we're running out of time, so lastly, I want to highlight really quick our GHHS College Application Guide. If you're the parent or guardian of a senior, hopefully you know about this by now. This is the one-stop shop for seniors when they're filling out their college applications. All the frequently asked questions, answers to fast facts, how to do the Common App essays, recommendations, test scores, scholarships. And scholarships, again, is linked on our main College and Career Center site, so anyone can access it, but there are slides on how to go about it. There are spreadsheet of local scholarships. Most are only for seniors, but it's definitely something you can check out. National scholarships can be looked at by anyone, but again, typically the older you are, the more there are. Tips on winning them, all kinds of stuff, how to send your transcripts. It's all here for seniors. So while if you're not a senior, your student may dip in and out of this guide to look at scholarships or to possibly do a resume or something like that. Majority of the time students will go in here is for when they're a senior and they're filling out applications. So it may not be relevant if you are not a senior. Okay, what else did I miss? Oh, really quickly, if you're not aware, there is a parent megadoc on our website. You can find it on the Hersey website that has a lot of these things linked as well. Some of our, again, our post-secondary planning guide, other services, bell schedules, handouts, and so on. And for students, there is, when we talk about getting involved, like, how do I know what we have? There is a student megadoc that has all the activities, clubs, and so on and so forth. So I am the Hellenic Greek Club sponsor. Our meeting started a minute ago, so that's okay. Hopefully they're doing all right. But there's a lot of different ways to get involved. And if your student doesn't see something that they like, they can get involved as well. Again, that looks great on their college applications. That looks great on their resumes. And it doesn't have to be a school activity. They can be involved in things outside of school as well. So I know that was really fast, but I hope you understand that there are a lot of resources out here for you and your students. One thing I did forget. I kind of talked about the financial aid, but let me just really quickly go back to the post-secondary planning guide, because I did miss the paying for college site. Okay, so there are a lot of information or tips about paying for colleges, charts. Some of them, hopefully, I'll have to make sure that they're all updated. Some tips on figuring out what the cost could be. The net price calculator is the big one. Every college by law has this on here. You plug in your student's information and it'll tell you what you can expect the cost to be. There are some other websites that are really great at estimating the cost too. And there are some colleges that meet your students' need. So what that means is when they figure out how much your family can potentially pay, then that's what they'll take from you. And the rest, if there's more, will be covered, hopefully for free, sometimes with loans, sometimes free. So it is important, and you'll hear me say this in a lot of presentations, especially if you haven't been to some already, that finding the right fit not only includes the size and the location and the major and all that, but it does include the financial fit. And again, because where they go doesn't dictate who they'll be as a person. If it means starting at Harper and transferring, if it means going to a non-flagship school because the cost is so much lower or whatever, that could be something to really consider. Sometimes students and parents kind of freak out that I haven't heard of that school or it's not on this ranking list. But if it's affordable for you, if your student will thrive there, in the end, when they go to apply for jobs or grad schools, they're looking at the grades, the experience, the resume, the letters of rec. They're not just defaulting, right away. Oh, they didn't go to Harvard, so see you later. They're looking at some of those other things. So I really want to stress that you don't need to break the bank thinking that that's the only way that your student is going to end up being successful down the road. But again, it's up to it's your family decision and what you want to do. But I just kind of want to throw that out there. So thank you all for being with me. Yes, if you have questions, yeah, let me get you the book list here, for sure. And again, some of those things I'm mentioning, it's not just me saying it. There is like research and data that show, some of those things. So there is our library. Okay, so I talked a lot really quick and our time is up. So as I mentioned as well, if you want to set up an individual appointment with me and your student, please reach out. Hopefully that gave you a better understanding of all the resources we have online and here in our College and Career Center. And I know there's a lot, and so I know I sped through it. So if you are trying to find something later and you're like, I can't find that, I don't know where you went, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I will get you those direct links as well. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know.